Como assim, mano? Melhorar o arco e o mosquete? Que? Vamos ver esse vídeo dos Devin aí de equilíbrio de poder. Aí, vamos lá. Ai, meu Deus. Começando a ficar com... Ah, mano. Vamos lá, mais um episódio de equilíbrio de poder. Vamos falar após equilíbrio. Lançamos a quarta temporada e Eternal. Possivelmente algumas mudanças disso. Com as perguntas. Tá, concordo. Na segunda temporada tava da hora. Ó, mano, o PVP tá ótimo. Mudança constantemente. Tô gostando. Cadê o som? Foi mal, mano.
A big issue. The lack of, the way teams are sometimes balanced and the lack of matchmaking is an issue. And, how role distribution, especially healers, aren't equal between teams. So those sort of things, we're aware of them. They're big problems, and I think in a lot of ways they're, leading to more of this feeling of, imbalance in the actual weapons. And we may have some exciting news coming about that, in May in the future.
Em maio, em maio. Sim, sim.
Balance,
Agora vamos pro vídeo mesmo.
Arena. On a positive side, I think Arena has really good build diversity still. I think we're seeing a lot of variety in builds and everything being somewhat competitive. We are still seeing a lot of strength in Blunderbuss. It's one of the outliners, so we are looking at that.
Pô, mano, pô, aí não, pô. Tamo vendo. Ah, pô, já quer nerfar mais minha Bacamarte ainda, pô?
Life Staff remains strong. Sword and Shield has crept up and remains strong.
Aí, espada e escudo tá forte, sim. Nerf.
And our favorite Fire Staff and Ice Gauntlet combo all remain strong. So, in terms of OPR, we're continuing to see sort of a big divergence between what wins matches and what gets lots of points via damage and kills, with range doing that and melee being more on the winning side. So that divergence continues, and on the winning side, we're seeing the bruisers and the sword and shield combos really performing well in terms of wins there.
Aqui, ó.
In terms of diversity in OPR, we are seeing...
Opa, nerf no espada e escudo, hein? Tamo vendo.
Usage of ranged. I think, we've talked about this in the past. I think it's because of, we are seeing sort of an outweighted usage of ranged. I think,
Exagerado.
I think it's because
Sim, com certeza, tem muito range.
It's more solo friendly, it's easier to get your points. And I think that, sort of outsized usage of ranged is also leading to a bit of a feeling of oppressiveness, because there's just so much ranged in there.
All right. How do you feel about the overall balance for PvE?
In terms of PvE, I think we're feeling pretty good. I think melee still continues to dominate a little bit. I think just with its ability to cleave enemies and how it's easier to sort of heal and buff in tighter AOE circles, we are seeing melee still sort of at the top of the leaderboards, especially at the higher levels. I think we are seeing more Fire Staff and even some Ice Gauntlet offhand usage. And a little better build diversity sort of in the lower, levels of mutations. But higher level, melee still dominates a little bit, and that's something we're looking at. In terms of diversity, I think, main hand, is a little bit still dominated by Greatsword. It is definitely the most used sort of main hand DPS weapon. In terms of offhand, we're seeing a little bit better diversity there with all the weapons sort of offering something, whether it's Rend, Weaken, we're seeing a little more diversity there.
Okay.
Eles vão dar alguma
the
vantagem pra range,
changes that are
provavelmente.
coming. Any changes to artifacts coming?
Yeah, there's 2 artifact changes coming.
Há 2
One
mudanças
is
no
a change
artefato
to
chegando. Uma
pestilence.
mudança.
This is the blunderbuss
Vou bufar minha Bacamarte de novo.
artifact, as we talked about. Blunderbuss is pretty strong in PvP. So we are going to be making a change here where the outgoing healing is reduced by half. This sort of puts it in line with other sort of disease type weapons. So we think it's an appropriate change, and we'll continue to monitor it after that. Second, Koya's knee guards is getting a buff. I think it was not strong enough against ranged relative to some after that. Second, Koya's knee guards is getting a buff. I think it was not strong enough against ranged.
Vamos bufar a calça contra ranged.
Relative to some other options, and I think, our vision here is that Koya's is the best option if you're specifically sort of gearing against range damage. And then we want to create, other areas, for instance, the Featherlight will probably be your best sort of generic ability to get resistances, and then we'll look maybe in the future for a melee specific one and sort of try to build out other niches there.
All right, what about the bow?
Well, the bow is getting a buff in damage, but don't worry, it's only in PvE. And in fact, we're going to be buffing both.
Arco e mosquete vai ser bufado no PvE, gente. Porra, mano. Que susto, mano.
These weapons are starting to get competitive, and we're going to try to keep
Nossa, que medo.
in PvE. So we will be buffing that. We will be reducing the PvP damage by a commensurate amount so that they remain neutral in.
Opa! Que? Estaremos reduzindo o dano do PVP em quantidade sólida. Amém?
Amount so that they remain neutral in PvP. Additionally, we're going to be making one fix, the Empowering Explosive Arrow perk. A couple people had found ways to not have it reset, so they were able to keep that empowering. It's supposed to go away after the first attack, so a fix is coming to do that, which should sort of reduce a little bit of the power of people who were able to exploit that.
Okay. All right. What about Fire Staff?
2 changes coming for Fire Staff. The first is we're going to be slightly reducing the speed while in Flamethrower. I think, the goal here is to give a little bit more of counterplay against this, what can feel like an oppressive ability at times, especially with some of the new heavy Fire Staff builds going on. So we like that change, and it's coming. The second change is we're going to be doing a very minor nerf to Empowering Fireball pork.
Nerf no cajado de fogo. Boa.
It is pretty strong, so a little bit of a nerf there.
All right. How about Void Gauntlet? Any love for that?
Yeah, so I think, we recently made some changes to Void Gauntlet, especially with the Void Blade. I think that's an ability that, is sort of a crowd favorite, a fun ability. So we like the changes, but feel like it still isn't quite strong enough. So we're going to be increasing both the light attack and heavy attack damage out of Void.
Vamos bufar a Void B,
last but not
espada
least,
da Void.
what about
Boa.
equip loads? How are you feeling about the balance there?
Equip loads. So let's start out with generally how we feel they're sort of balanced right now. In general, I think the light equip load is in a very good place for ranged at the moment. I think it offers some mobility, some damage. It really matches well with sort of the range play style. I don't think it's too strong or too weak. I think that's in a really good place at the moment. Light builds on the melee side for those assassin builds, though, there I do think there is some weakness, and that is something we would like to improve. I will say we want to find a way to improve the light melee builds without further buffing range, which we think is in a good spot. So we need a little tech to do that. That won't be an immediate change, but expect something, to attack to do without further buffing range, which we think is in a good spot. A way to improve the light melee builds without further buffing range, which we think is in a good spot.
Eles vão tentar equilibrar. Ranged, o set leve para ranged e fazer uma coisa, o set leve para melee fazer uma coisa. Interessante, isso é interessante. Futuramente, tá? Não é agora, gente.
Second, medium. We think medium equip load, just to be frank, is in a weird place. And medium. We think medium equip load, just to be frank, is in a weird place. Since losing its lower stamina dodge, it's now sort of being dominated by heavy.
O médio foi DF e o pesado entrou.
A little bit less damage. And we're seeing that play out in PvP, right? Like, especially with Void Darkblade, I think that's helped this shift. We're seeing a lot more usage of heavy equip loads than medium. This is something we are taking a look at. We're going to make a change coming up in the minor. I think the change we're going to do is we're going to increase the cost of dodging in heavy to 55. We're going to increase the cost of dodging in heavy to 55. We're going to increase the cost of dodging in heavy to 55. We like...
Nerf no pesado, gente. Vai custar mais estamina para se esquivar de pesado.
This change because I think it will reduce the effectiveness of the build a little bit. It will give medium, sort of a new niche for melee that offers, better dodging but still good protection. And we sort of like this change better than reducing the medium stamina because we sort of wanted to avoid, too much dodge spam. So that is a change that's coming, and I think, we are continuing to look at equip loads. I think we'll make more changes.
Mano, muito bom, mano, muito bom. Querendo ou não, todo mundo sabe que o pesado tá muito forte. Comparado ao médio, comparado ao leve. Essa mudança aí foi boa pra caramba. Eu achei uma mudança muito boa. Isso daí foi uma mudança muito boa, velho. O pesado todo mundo sabe. Espada, escudo, espadão. Tá tudo forte, mano, de pesado. Martelão. É uma mudança boa, velho.
Season 5 also. We have a little more time to test, make larger changes, and get some tech in.
That's all I got for now.
Awesome.
Sim, vai evitar um pouco o pessoal jogar com as builds full con, de pesado, com shield, e não ter com nenhuma, que é o que o pessoal tá usando ultimamente. Porque tem muita esquiva, tem muita estamina, então o cara pode se esquivar e erguer o shield. Isso daí vai ajudar bastante, tirar um pouco meta de espada e escudo, mano.
Well, thanks for joining us. All these changes we talked about should be coming in an early January minor patch. As a reminder, these are minor, so we try to keep the changes to a minimum and sort of safe changes, and we'll make bigger changes with the Season 5 release. And with that, we do have a community question. We're just talking about equip loads. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you want to see in the future for equip loads? Let us know in the comments. And as always, like and subscribe. Let us know you're enjoying the program. And see you in a tournament.
Gostei. Foi uma boa mudança. Foi boa pra caralho, adorei, mano.